Hello everyone and welcome to this month's subscription coffee tasting video. It's already April, is it? Yes, it's April. I'm actually recording this in March because I'm going to Colombia next week, so I had to record this before we ship out the coffees in April. But today we are going to taste the coffees we're sending out to all our coffee subscribers around the world on the first Wednesday of April. So if you don't know what a coffee subscription is, it means that you sign up to subscribe to our coffee. You can subscribe to from 1 to 6 bags, and that means every first Wednesday of the month we send out 3 different coffees to all our subscribers. So that means if you subscribe to 6 bags, you get 2 of each coffee. If you subscribe to 3 coffees, you get 1 bag of each coffee, and so on. Now you can pause and do whatever you like with this subscription. You can stop it as well anytime you like, so there's no binding time. So this is a nice coffee subscription if you want to explore different types of coffees, because I'm the one who picks the coffees, and a lot of times I pick coffees that we have small amounts of or that are quite rare in our assortment. So that means you get to taste a lot of rarities and cool and nice tasting coffees from our assortment. So hopefully that intrigues you and you can subscribe. You can also watch these videos where I taste the coffees, and that's what we're going to do now. So April is already here. That means spring. I wanted to kind of do a little spring cleaning, although it's not really spring cleaning because we have some new coffees on the table here. And one of them just arrived actually because at Finca Tamana in Colombia, they had quite a late harvest last year, and that means the coffees were shipped late and then they arrived quite late. Now, we also had some problems with logistics. Getting a container from Colombia to Norway was actually quite difficult, and just because we couldn't really find a boat that had a free space to ship to Norway, it took another 3 weeks of delay before we could ship the coffees. But we worked hard, coffees have arrived, and they taste amazing. So the first coffee we're going to taste today is from Finca Tamana, where I'm actually going to go next week. And it's from my dear friend Elias Roa and his family, who has produced this coffee. And it's actually our 10-year anniversary working together this year. So this is a nice time for me to go and we can celebrate. But what's funny about this coffee, or not fun, but exciting about this coffee, is that it's one of the new cultivars that we have planted together with Elias. And when I say planted together, it's not like I've been there and planted the trees into the field myself, but we have gathered seeds for him and also kind of discussed and planned what type of cultivars he should grow and also where to grow them and how much and so on. So the first cup is a mix between pink Bourbon and red Bourbon. And the pink Bourbon is actually seeds that Elias got in Colombia, and the red Bourbon is actually seeds from Finca Nacimiento in Honduras. So we know these are good Bourbons. Now this is grown at Finca Tamana in Huila, Colombia. We planted these Bourbon trees, I can't really remember even, maybe 7 years ago. But it's not until this year that we got a good amount of volume, because he had some troubles with the trees. You know, it's an old cultivar, it's quite tall, and he had some problems with leaf rust and all these kind of things. But now he's kind of sorted all the problems, for now at least. And that means we actually got, I think, over 500 kilos of this coffee, or even a little bit more. Let's taste it. As always with coffees from Finca Tamana, it's super clean, and that's due to the process that we have implemented together with Elias. Now the coffees are actually fermented in steel tanks that are very easy to clean, and it's actually washed with a mechanical demucilage remover. So that means he uses a lot less water per kilo of coffee than he used to do. Before, he used to do everything was fermented in a cement tank, and then in the same tank we would wash the coffee by hand, meaning that we had to change the water quite a lot. So we calculated that he might have used 80 to 100 liters of water per kilo of coffee. With this new washing machine, we use less than a liter per kilo. So that's quite a big difference. Of course, we still do soaking. That means after washing, the beans are put into a tank with clean water until the next day. And then the coffee is dried under shades on raised beds. It's not on the ground anymore. And that means long, slow drying, but also a long shelf life. And that's why this coffee still, although it was harvested in August last year, it tastes really fresh, because We store it in grain pro on the farm. It's dried on the shade. It's vacuum packed before it's shipped to Norway, and so on. This coffee is super clean, a little bit fruity, quite elegant fruit, and also a little bit floral, but not the type of florals you get in Ethiopian coffee or geisha. It's kind of a different type of flower. You know, I'm not so obsessed on describing the exact flower, maybe because my ability is not there, but quite delicate, vibrant coffee, quite good acidity, fruity, sweet, floral, delicate. Very, very nice. Pink Bourbon, red Bourbon from Finca Tamana. And that's the first coffee we're sending out to all our one bag subscribers. And of course, everyone who subscribes to any amount of bags will get this coffee. Now, the second coffee is an Ethiopian coffee. And I wanted to put, 3 different coffees because for the last rounds we've sent out coffees, it's been, 3 different coffees from the same farm and so on. So now I just wanted to give you some diversity of flavor. So that you have some different flavors to play around with. And also it's spring, so we want to have something that's fresh and nice and floral to drink in the sun. So Ethiopian coffee for me. Now the middle coffee, the second bag, is from Ethiopia, as I said, from the farm Fahem in Limuseka in the kind of southwest of Ethiopia. And I really love this coffee. It's quite different from coffees you find in Sidamo and Yirgacheffe and further south in Ethiopia, but it's very floral, quite citric, and a lot of stone fruit flavor. I think, I don't really need to describe the coffee more than that. Like, just think of eating a fresh stone fruit with a little bit of lime or lemon on and some flowers. The florality in this coffee is probably more towards the kind of jasmine-y thing, or orange blossom if you like that. It's kind of a little bit more perfumey than the flowers you get in the Bourbon coffee. Now, we shipped this coffee out to subscribers before, but this is the 71110 cultivar grown on the farm. And they have different ones, but this, for me, at least last year, was the better tasting one and was probably a little bit more kind of precise in the flavor and a little bit more structured and kind of firm in the mouth, I think. So quite nice citric acidity, stone fruit, and flowers. Now the third coffee is a rarity in our roastery because we don't buy a lot of these coffees, and we have basically bought them mainly to supply Restaurant Noma in Copenhagen because they had a pop-up in Mexico a few years ago where we had to source and find a good partner for them to deliver the coffee for their restaurant in Mexico. Now they love that coffee so much, and I do too, so we brought it back to Norway a couple of years in a row now. And this coffee is from Jesus Salazar and his team in San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas in Mexico. And Jesus actually runs coffee shops and a roastery there, and also a training center. And he works together with local farmers in order to improve the quality, and of course he buys their coffee and serves them and roasts them as well. He exports a little bit, and this particular coffee is actually from his community mill that he has built together with farmers in the area, where they can buy cherries or gather cherries from several different farmers and mill them and process them together. So that means he's kind of bringing value to much more people, and he's able to really process these coffees well and get them into the market for a good price. So the name of the coffee is Beneficio Comunitario Sibactel, and that means it's a wet mill that is a community wet mill from Sibactel. This will obviously be a small blend of coffees from several different farmers, but the majority of them will grow Bourbon, Caturra, and a variety called Garnica. I think that's how you pronounce it, because it's CA, so Garnica. It's a Mexican variety or cultivar, but I can clearly, although the Bourbon on the first cup is probably a little bit more elegant, the coffee from Mexico really reminds me of the Bourbon from Nacimiento. It's really kind of ripe red fruits and quite kind of winey acidity, but it also has this kind of cocoa nib flavor, a little bit of herbal flavors that I think is really, really nice. So Imagine that you're tasting a really high quality dark chocolate that has a little bit of this kind of fermented fruit flavor and also this really lush chocolate flavor. Definitely has that herbal zing at the end. And super sweet, very rich, sweet, mouth-filling and juicy coffee. And of course, the fruit flavor might come from a little bit of long fermentation times because it's really cold in this area and they actually ferment most of the coffees in plastic barrels with lids on. That means they have quite a long fermentation time. And lots of people would call that anaerobic, but fermentation is anaerobic. So, you know, why call it anaerobic? So the third coffee, Mexico, Chiapas, from Jesus Salazar and Cafeólogo, his team. The beneficio is called Beneficio Comunitario Sibactel. And it's a group of farmers who have sold cherries to this mill and milled it together so that they can create a little bit of volume of coffee. Those are the 3 coffees, and I highly recommend, if you subscribe to all 3 of them or just 2 or even just 1, to taste them like I do in a cupping session. You can do that with friends. If you do it with friends, just take the spoon of coffee, put it into a cup and then drink from the cup so you don't have to mix bacteria and stuff. But if you want to learn how to set up a cupping, we have a video on YouTube, a tutorial how to do it. And the reason why I like to do it like this is because it's so much easier to train yourself to describe flavors when you do this. So even if you just subscribe to 1 coffee, just go and get another coffee. It can be from the supermarket or from another of your favorite roaster. Put them side by side so you can taste them side by side. And it's so much easier to describe the flavor and kind of enjoy the coffees more. Now, I personally would probably brew these both as AeroPress or pour over or whatever, but use a nice filtration system of your choice and make sure that you extract well, because all these coffees can really be extracted quite high, and that means you get much more sweetness and richness. But when you do extract high, sometimes you have to dose a little bit lower as well because the strength goes up. So you can play around with a little bit lower dose and higher extraction and see how you like that. Cool, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoy the coffees as much as I did in this video. I know it's quite funny to see a person be excited about his own coffees, but I actually don't think of these coffees as my own coffees. It's coffees from Finca Tamana, it's Elias's coffee, and I really enjoy drinking his coffee. So that's why I'm a little bit overexcited sometimes when I taste these coffees. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you on the next video. And if you don't subscribe to our coffee, make sure to do so and spread the word. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.